Welcome to the Write the Damn Book Already podcast. My name is Elizabeth Lyons. I'm a 6-time author, and I help people write and publish powerful, thought-provoking nonfiction and memoir without any more overthinking, second-guessing, or overwhelm than absolutely necessary. Because let's face it, some overthinking, second-guessing, and overwhelm is going to come with the territory if you're anything like me. I believe that story and shared perspective is one of the most potent ways we connect with one another, and that your story, perspective, and insights are destined to become someone else's favorite resource. For more book writing, publishing, and how the heck do I move through this glitch tips and solutions, and plenty of free and low-cost resources, visit publishaprofitablebook.com. And for recommendations of fabulous books you've possibly never heard of, book writing inspiration, and the occasional meme so relatable you'll wonder if it was created with you in mind, follow me on Instagram at Elizabeth Lyons Author. Hi, everybody, and welcome to this next episode of Write the Damn Book Already. It's going to be another solo episode today, and we're going to talk about something that is admittedly not terribly sexy. Fair warning. However, it's extremely important. So again, no, it's not as fun as talking about how to sell thousands and thousands of books or make millions and millions of dollars, because of course that happens right out of the gate for all authors, right? But the truth is that how you handle your ISBN, and don't worry, I'm going to explain all about what this is from the get-go, is really, really important, and it can absolutely affect the trajectory of your author experience. I have seen this go sideways for many people who tried to cut this corner initially. It's a corner I don't ever recommend cutting. In my almost 20 years of doing this, I have not seen an instance where it made a lot of sense to go a specific route. ISBN, what is it? You know what it is, even if you don't know that you know what it is. ISBN stands for International Standard Book Number. It is essentially the UPC code, the Universal Product Code of a book. So all products have a UPC code that identifies them in the system, whatever the system is for whatever product it is, so that when you purchase something and they scan it, the system immediately says, oh, that's Clairol shampoo, or that's a box of Entenmann's donuts, or that is Peet's Decaf Coffee K-Cups. The ISBN is the book-specific version of that kind of a product code. Every book has one. So do you need one? Yes. You're getting it either intentionally or unintentionally, which is what we're going to talk about, because you want to get it intentionally. When you're looking at a book on Amazon, you may notice that many books have an ISBN and an ASIN. The difference is that the ASIN stands for Amazon Standard ID Number. Every single product sold on Amazon has an ASIN. It is automatically assigned whenever the seller uploads a product for sale to Amazon. You do not have to purchase it. It is an automatically assigned identifier. You will occasionally, in fact, it's not just occasionally, but you will see books, specifically ebooks, that only have ASINs. And the reason for that is that on Amazon, an ebook is not required to have an ISBN. Now, do I highly, highly recommend it? I do. I'm going to tell you why in this episode. But because it is not required, many times people think, ooh, that's a corner I can cut. Like that's something I can get away with not having. I will just upload my ebook and not have an ISBN. Amazon will give it an ASIN, as they give to every single product and every version of a product that's uploaded. So your ASIN for your ebook will be different from your ASIN for your paperback, as will your ISBN. You need, for books, an ISBN for every version of your book. So if you have a paperback, an ebook, and a hardback, you will need 3 different ISBNs. If you change the title of your book, you will need a new ISBN. If you just change the cover, typically you do not. But if you change the title, if you change the interior content, anything significant, you will need to reassign. It's a new product. It's a new book. For audiobooks, you actually need two ISBNs. One is for retail sale and one is for libraries. So if you are someone who would like to have an ebook, a paperback, a hardback, and an audiobook version of a single book, you will need 5 ISBNs. Different countries deal with ISBNs differently. In the United States, we do not, publishers and authors, but do not automatically get free ISBNs. In Canada, they do. So if you are an author in Canada or a small publisher in Canada, however you're doing it, self-publishing or through a traditional house in Canada, you will get, or your publishing house can get, a free ISBN. It's kind of like getting an EIN, an employee identification number here in the United States. Even though there are websites that want to kind of convince you that you need to pay $100 or $200 or $300 to get an EIN in the United States when you form a business, it's kind of like your social security number, but for your business. Those are free in the United States if you get them from the right agency. It takes about 4 minutes to apply. Similarly, in Canada, it takes about 4 minutes to apply for an ISBN. We aren't quite so lucky in the United States. You can get them for free, but I do not recommend it. What the ISBN does is it identifies the publisher of record. So for right now, that's what you need to know, is it identifies the publisher of record. If you look on the back of any book and you see the barcode down in the lower right-hand corner, above the lines that make up the barcode, there's going to be a 13-digit number. It used to be 10 digits until 2007. And in 2007, all of us who had published before that had the great joy of having to convert. So then we had a 10-digit ISBN and a 13-digit ISBN. But today everyone just has a 13-digit, and you'll see that digit above the barcode. And it breaks out in a specific way where the first 3 digits represent one thing and the second 7 digits represent something else. And it's all coded in a way that's industry standard, but that's where it shows up in a book. And you'll also, of course, see it on the copyright page of a book. And if you scroll down on Amazon or any other bookseller, you'll see the ISBN listed there as well. Were you to walk into a bookstore and say, hey, I'd like to order this book, they would look it up probably by title, but if you happen to have the ISBN, they could look it up that way as well. All right, so let's talk about indie authors. If you're with a traditional house, you sort of don't need to worry. Well, you don't need to worry about this because your traditional publishing house is going to assign you an ISBN that is assigned to them. So that way, anytime anyone who has access to the major database, Ingram's database or BookScan or anything, and goes in and looks up the ISBN, they'll be able to see, oh, this book was published by HarperCollins, Simon & Schuster, Chronicle Books, Atria, Harper Perennial, whomever. So if you're publishing traditionally, you don't need to worry about this beyond maybe being interested in what the heck it is and why it matters. If you are an indie author, meaning you are either self-publishing or hybrid publishing, and that's important because you want to ask your hybrid publisher, if you are going into an agreement with a hybrid publisher, whether it is an author-financed agreement or it is a 50-50 split, whatever the agreement is, you want to know that they have their own ISBNs. You want to ensure that they are not cutting corners, and this is a common practice of vanity publishers in many cases, is to cut this corner by using either free or very cheaply distributed ISBNs. It's fair to say I have been preaching, and I don't preach a lot, but I have been preaching about the importance of owning your ISBNs or knowing who owns your ISBNs for well over a decade. And the reason is that it controls the metadata of your title. So if someone were, for instance, to want to order, this is just one example, a lot of copies of your book or get in touch with you as the author and they're a bookseller and they don't know how to reach you directly and they go into a database and they pull up the ISBN or the book and then pull up the associated ISBN. And let's say you're with a hybrid publisher And that hybrid publisher has either gone out of business or it's a vanity publisher who's not a good actor in the field. And they contact that person and say, hey, I would like to get in touch with this author or get in touch with this publishing house. They'll never hear back because that publishing house that is assigned to the ISBN is the bridge. They're the connector between whomever wants your book. And when I say whomever, I don't just mean a general reader. I mean a bookshop or someone who's looking to place an extremely large order, them and you. Free ISBNs for a while were I'm not going to say they were kind of nice because I've always thought it was a no-go. I've always felt like that was a no-go, but I will acquiesce enough to say that it was a good thing for cash-strapped indie authors because it very much lowered the barrier to entry. You could go to Amazon and upload your book, paperback or ebook, and use one of their free ISBNs. You can do the same now through Ingram Spark. You can use one of their free ISBNs. You can go out and just do a search on buy a single ISBN, and you'll find options to buy a single ISBN from different companies for $20 or $25. And many times, indie authors will choose that because it feels like, oh, that's a much less expensive option. For the record, the way I recommend doing this is to buy your ISBNs directly from Bowker, which is the ISBN agency from which you buy ISBNs here in the United States. And you can buy them one at a time for $125, which I don't recommend because at the beginning of this episode, as I mentioned, you're going to need at least two. So if you do 125 times 2, that's 250, and possibly 4 if you're ever going to do an audiobook. You can buy a package of 10 ISBNs for, as of right now, and we're in August of 2023, $295. So that's $29.50 per ISBN, which is not that much higher than the $20 or so you'd spend per ISBN to buy them from a random company that has just gone out and bought 1 or 2 or 10,000 ISBNs. And then once you buy them from them, again, now your publishing house of record is whoever that company is. So when you go in and you upload your book to wherever you're going to upload it for distribution, the publishing house that it's going to show is going to be whomever owns that ISBN. So to save yourself essentially $4, you've just put someone else between you and your book, it's just a crazy thing in my mind to do. And I realize you might be thinking, wait a minute, Liz, can you not do math? You're talking about $20 versus $295, not $20 versus $24. But when you break it out and you take 10 ISBNs and you get 10 for $295, then it's $29.50. And if you're going to write more than one book, and many authors are or think that they might, you're going to need 4 or 6 or 8. Even if you only write one book, and even if you only have an ebook and a paperback version of that book, and you're convinced you're not going to need any other ISBNs ever, investing the $250 and saving yourself $45, but investing the $250 in just getting 2 ISBNs the right way and registering them properly is very, very worthwhile, in my opinion. And I get it. I understand that people are looking to cut costs wherever possible, and I fully support that. I mean, through any of my courses, I am very quick to tell you where I think you can cut corners and where I recommend that you absolutely do not. You can start simple and get fancy later, but starting simple sometimes requires making some smart choices up front so that you don't end up having to make some really expensive and frustrating choices on the back end. So it used to be, well, it still is, that you can get a free ISBN from Amazon, from Ingram Spark, from a low-cost ISBN. Here are some of the challenges with that. Number one, if you get a free ISBN from Amazon, Amazon is the only place you can sell that book. So if you try to take that book using their ISBN and go sell it elsewhere, you can't do it. Now, you can technically, according to Amazon's expanded distribution policy, do it through their expanded distribution. I'm going to do an entirely separate podcast on Amazon's expanded distribution and what that really means and how I recommend that you do it instead. Because it's you check a quick box and it makes it seem really simple. But if you ever want to distribute your book elsewhere, i.e. bookshop.org, Barnes & Noble, any independent bookstore, any brick and mortar retailer, etc., just checking that little box that says expanded distribution on Amazon will make your life extremely difficult down the road when you go to try to distribute outside of Amazon, whether or not you use your own ISBN that you've purchased that's assigned to your publishing house or a hybrid publishing house, or you've used their free ISBN. So that's why I'm going to do a completely separate episode on that, because it's really a completely separate conversation. And I don't want to get any more into the weeds on this than absolutely necessary for the purposes of this specific episode. The second reason that I recommend that you buy your own ISBNs is it shows in Amazon and elsewhere who's the publishing house of record. So who published the book. And if you are using a free ISBN, it will simply show independently published or independent publisher. And what that says is that you used a free ISBN. So first, I'll just play devil's advocate against myself. There are plenty of people, and I'm one of them, who have said, well, how many people actually scroll down and look at who the publisher of record is? And further, how many people see independently published and then realize that that means you're on your own, you're a self-published author? And the answer is probably not many who are outside of the industry. However, it all comes down to how you're looking to position yourself as an author. And in my reason number 4, and my final reason why it's now becoming more and more important in my eyes that you have your own ISBN, I'll clarify why having independently published or kind of this generic publishing house next to your book on Amazon and other resellers might be a disadvantage going forward as resellers are looking to remove illegitimate books from their catalog. It may be one of the first red flags that says to Amazon or bookshop.org or Barnes & Noble or an independent reseller that a book may not be legitimate, which is awesome if it truly isn't legitimate. But if it is, it's just red tape that you don't need to jump through. If you are looking to position yourself seriously as an author, if you're a coach, if you are a therapist, if you are a guide of any sort, if you have a business that your book is supporting, if you are looking to become a serial author, in other words, maybe you're a fiction author, maybe you're a nonfiction author, but you want to write a lot of books. I think of it as the difference between, are you going to set up your business as a sole proprietor, or are you going to just spend the less than $100 to go ahead and set yourself up as an LLC? For so many reasons, it makes so much sense to do the latter. In other words, set yourself up as an LLC. It is a very low-cost barrier to entry for business that both protects you and shows that you're serious about what you're doing. And in the ISBN world, setting yourself up and making sure that you are presenting, this isn't about smoke and mirrors. It really isn't. It is simply about putting your best foot forward and saying, I'm serious about this. I'm serious enough to have my own ISBNs, to have had the book edited, to have had a professional cover design, to have had the interior formatted properly. I want to put something of value out onto the market. The ISBN, as I mentioned a little bit ago, also controls the metadata. The metadata of your book is all of the information that is in the main system when it comes to what your book is, who your target market is, the fact that you're the author, who the publisher is, what date it was published, the genre that it's in, and other relevant details like Italian cookbook, or this is a great beach read, or this is memoir. It helps get the book on the radar of not just readers, but booksellers who are looking to read or stock a certain kind of book. And in short, as the author, if you are not traditionally published, you want to be in control of that data. Or at a bare minimum, you want a hybrid publisher who knows what they're doing and is in control of that data. Otherwise, you can think of it like creating a crib for a baby and someone going in and putting it in the automotive section of a store that doesn't sell a single baby product. That might be a bad analogy. I'll have to think about it. I think it's pretty good, though, on the fly, to be honest. It is really just about, again, doing everything within your power to make sure that, or within your control, I should say, to make sure that your book is properly positioned to be shown to and learned about by the people who most will desire reading it. If you are with a hybrid publisher, in all likelihood, they are taking care of that. That is part of what you are paying for, is that they know how to make those choices and upload the correct metadata for your book. You want to make sure of that. That's another area where vanity publishers completely drop the ball. They do not care. They put the bare minimum up when they are loading you up into the Bowker database. So if you are self-publishing and you are buying your own ISBNs, you get to be in control of that data. If you are with a traditional house, don't worry about it. They're in control of that data. They know what they're doing. If you're with a hybrid publisher, they probably know what they're doing. Make sure. If you're with a vanity publisher, just don't be with that. The fourth and final reason why owning your own ISBN right now is so incredibly important is the onslaught of AI. Listen, I get it. AI is here. It's going nowhere. I completely appreciate that as authors, we've got to learn how to work with it or among it or around it or whatever. But when it comes to self-publishing specifically or indie publishing, there are some areas where we really do need, if we're serious about this, we really need to take the best steps we can to properly position ourselves as being serious about what we are doing. You may have seen last week, there was an Instagram post that I posted on my feed about a book that was created about the Maui wildfires. It was like a 80-page book. It was written by a Dr. Miles Stone, who it's come to pass does not even exist. And it's widely rumored, I don't know that it's been proven yet, but that it was written entirely by AI and just thrown up. It was written and published within 48 hours of the Maui fires breaking out. And it was kind of all about climate change. And then somehow it hit number one in weather, probably because there are only 2 books total categorized in the weather category. And so, of course, it got number one new release. And, you know, if that were a real person who were taking advantage of that situation, he would be walking around going, I have a number one Amazon bestseller. Not even close. It has 16, last time I checked it, and now I think it's been pulled down, 16 one-star reviews. And the reason it's been pulled down, I might add, is because it made the rounds and it became wildly apparent to Amazon that it was an AI generated book, and that's against Amazon's policies. However, because Amazon supplies Ingram, who's the major wholesaler in the US, through expanded distribution with all of their titles, it also made its way to Barnes & Noble and bookshop.org. Where hopefully it will also be pulled down as soon as those, it just went through the system. It's not like somebody over at Barnes & Noble or Bookshop said, oh, hey, this looks great, let's carry this. But the challenge, that one of the biggest challenges with AI in the creative space, specifically the book writing space, is that I believe, and I'm hearing this more and more from experts in the publishing space who have been in the space for a lot longer than I have even, that because the barriers to entry have gotten so low for authors, and because there is so much, air quote, not real content, in other words, completely AI generated content starting to make its way up there and people just trying to profit off of products that they're not even real books, the distributors like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Bookshop, and everyone else is going to start making the barriers to entry higher. I hope. I hope that is true. Again, the AI generated content is already against their policies. The challenge is there's so much being uploaded on a daily basis that they have to keep up in terms of their technology being able to quickly filter out what is AI generated, what is an AI generated book and what isn't. So one of the ways that it's being suggested, and I think this is brilliant, this was in an article posted by Jane Friedman on her blog, just I think earlier this morning or yesterday, that I think would be interesting is one of the solutions may end up being, we've started hearing rumblings that, for example, Barnes & Noble is no longer going to carry indie titles at all in their stores specifically, nor are they going to carry debut titles from traditional publishers. It almost has to be a proven author with a track record in order for them to be able to put the book on their shelf. Now, we're not talking about ordering a printed book off barnesandnoble.com. That's a little bit different. But in order to just be able to get into the physical bookstore, the barrier to entry and the gatekeeping is getting a little higher and a little thicker. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Unfortunately, it does, in a way, punish some of the good actors, right? Some people who are truly writing wonderful debut novels, debut books. We're all having to get creative. So I have no doubt that there are other ways to get your books out there besides being in the Barnes & Noble store. But one of the potential solutions is that books without an ISBN that is assigned to an actual publishing house, and by actual, I don't mean traditional. I just mean it's not a conglomerate that's just been created out of thin air and they grabbed some ISBNs and suddenly slapped them onto 1,000 books in a week and uploaded them all to Amazon. I mean, there should be some checks and balances back there, but that might be one of the first things that's an easy catch for some of the book distributors is to say, is this author serious enough to have actually acquired his or her or their own ISBNs? And so what started as, okay, let's make this a low barrier to entry, and also it's a little bit self-serving for the entities who allow authors to have the free ISBNs because it does handcuff those authors to those entities. It might not be long before we start to see a pivot to something a little bit different so as to at least attempt to keep some of the bad actors out. Because one of the worst things that could happen is all of the strides that indie authors have made in the space end up going backward because the trust factor becomes so low that indie authors have a hard time getting their foot in the door unless they're reliant upon the traditional publishing conglomerates, which that would be extremely disappointing, in my opinion. So the bottom line is there is now more reason than ever to make this investment, to invest in your own ISBNs upfront. So you have full control over your metadata and can show that you're a serious player in the space. If I could explain how to do all this in a podcast, I would. It's too much to explain how to go out and buy it. I have a whole visual step-by-step. It's like you're standing over my shoulder, you're watching over my shoulder as I'm showing you exactly how to purchase the ISBNs, where to get them, where not to get them, how to assign them, how to register them properly, all of those things in my Publish a Profitable Book course, which is my course that for years now has walked authors step by step through the self-publishing process. It's the exact same publishing steps that I use to publish my own books, to publish Fin Phyllis Press authors' books. The only difference is you're doing the legwork instead of me. So if you'd like more information, including how to get that barcode, because this is another thing that people do spend money on that they don't need to. The barcode that goes on the back of the book where the digital ISBN sits atop it, many people invest in having that barcode created. It's unnecessary. There are some places where you can get that barcode generated completely for free, and the barcode itself is not then assigned to anyone. It's literally just creating a barcode for you that your ISBN sits atop. And I show you exactly how to do that within the course. So you can cut that particular corner, but please strongly consider not cutting the ISBN corner. If there are 3 things that are really hard to recover from when publishing a book on your own, it is not getting your own ISBNs or not knowing where they're coming from and trusting from whom they're coming, designing your own cover, and not having the book edited. Those are my 3 crowning long-term, please do not cut these corners. I will put a link to the Publish a Profitable Book course in the show notes, and any further questions you have about the ISBN, about book publishing, about book writing, about book launching, about book marketing, please feel free to email me, elizabeth@elizabethlyons.com. Follow me on Instagram @ElizabethLyonsAuthor. And if nothing else, send me a message when your book comes out so I can check it out. Just this morning, someone purchased my Canva templates for Reels and Stories for authors off of my Etsy shop, and she was having some trouble getting in, and so she was messaging me. And by the end of the conversation, I had bought her client's book. She was a virtual assistant for an author who can't stand social media and wanted some templates. And I asked about the book. She sent me the link. I went and took a look. I said, "This looks fantastic," and I ordered it. So tell me about your book. That's how we get them out there, one person at a time. Thanks so much for joining. I'll talk to you again next week. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, this is your friendly reminder to follow or subscribe, leave a quick review, and share it with someone you know has a great story or message, but isn't sure what to do next. Also, remember to check out publishaprofitablebook.com for book writing resources and tips, and to see all the ways we can work together to get your book out into the world. Again, thanks so much for listening, and I'll talk with you again soon.